Rick Singh, definitely a name we're familiar with here in Cap Village Studios. Pleasure to have you here with us today. How are you doing?
It's an honor to be here. I'm doing fantastic.
For those that aren't familiar with you, let's get them, formally introduced. Let's get a little bit of your background in public service and what motivated you to go for Orange County Clerk of Court.
Sure. Hello, I'm Rick Singh, your former Orange County Property Appraiser and currently your candidate for Clerk of Court. I would like to tell you a little bit about my history, if you will. My beginnings were very humble. I was born in a place with no running water, no electricity. My father passed away when I was 10 years old, and my mother moved us to New York City. But observing my mother in that condition, if you will, was a masterclass in life. In that this is a woman that worked three jobs as a maid and balanced a house and made sure everything was intact. Our uniforms going to school were pressed. We didn't miss a meal. And she was able to do this all while working three jobs as a maid. But more impressive, what I learned from my mother was that she had the time to volunteer and help the community whenever possible. She had the time to give back to a community that had given so much to her at that point in her life. And with that, I took the opportunity, the first opportunity I had, to join the military and join the U.S. Army as a soldier. And in the U.S. Army, I learned discipline. I learned spirit de corps. I learned, sticking to doing a project and doing it right the first time and precision. I actually worked on at the first Infantry Division, mechanized, working on the weapon system for the Apache helicopter. So this is very technical and meticulous vocation, which requires precision. And what that precision taught me was no matter what you do, and this is something my mother had always taught me also, no matter what you do it right the first time, or at least give it your best shot. And of course, expect better results. So this is my story. I ran for public office. After leaving the military, I was a business owner. I owned a automotive repair facility here in Orlando with my brother. Worked at the property appraiser's office in an entry-level position as a field appraiser, and then worked my way up and ultimately went into private practice, opened an appraisal firm, opened a real estate brokerage, a mortgage company, and ultimately sold those businesses and ran for property appraiser. I was inspired by President Obama when he got elected. Great speech, and that motivated me to run for office. And of course, I could still remember where I was when he made that speech. The night he accepted his winning the election, and of course, creating a historical event. And of course, he was a barrier breaker and a history maker, and that inspired me to run for office. I ran for the office of property appraiser, not knowing anything about politics, not knowing any person that was involved in politics. But I educated myself. I went to the Sorensen Institute for Political Training, got trained on campaigning and politics and so on and so forth, and ran against one of the most powerful individuals in Orange County politics, a gentleman by the name of Bill Donegan. And the day that I registered to run, the next day, the Orlando 50 Most Powerful came out. This magazine came out, and of course, Mr. Donegan and his wife were the #1 power couple. Ultimately, I got elected to the office of property appraiser. I was the first state certified qualified appraiser in the history of this office. I was the first minority to ever occupy this office. So again, in the office, we did some tremendous amount of work.
Listen, as an adult, that resume is impressive. Now, and you brought the child out in me too, because you mentioned your mother, and I'm Caribbean as well. So, my mother had a huge part of my upbringing. But you know where you got me at? You got me with the Apache, because my father was in the Army.
Okay.
My father was in the Army. He retired Army, but we definitely saw plenty of Apaches, and I used to be obsessed with them.
Yeah.
But how would you describe the role as the Clerk of Court, and why do you believe this office is important to Orange County residents?
This is a tremendously important office. It is a constitutional office, constitutional position, which means that this is one of the few offices that's independent. What I mean by that, you get to operate as the office there, the chief executive officer. I've been CEO most of my adult life. In private sector, I was CEO. In public sector, of course, I was the property appraiser. And of course, in the military, I led troops. So this enabled me and trained me to become the CEO of this office. Orange County Clerk of Court is an office that is one of the largest collector of data. That is the first point that I'd like to make. And what you do with that data is so important. How you take care of that data is so important. And this is an office that's very meaningful to the community. It's an office that impacts your life. Every segment of your life is impacted by the Clerk of Court in one way or the other. So again, this is an office that serves the community well. And what I'm looking to do is make government better, make government more expedient, make government more accurate, make government more easier to deal with.
Your campaign focuses heavily on transparency and accountability. Keeping it real. What specific steps would you take to make court records and government information more accessible to the public?
So Florida has a sunshine law, a law that allows the public to garner any document that is essentially available. There are a few exceptions, but of course, this is the sunshine law in the state of Florida, and that law ought to be upheld. It is a law; it ought to be held in the sunshine, open to the public, and that must be accessible. Currently, there is a gap in the process. I hope to streamline that process and to make it more transparent. In addition to that, as I said before, the Clerk of Court is one of the largest collector of public information, of public data. I want to package that data like I did at the Property Appraiser's Office, utilizing GIS technology, utilizing artificial intelligence, and package it where it assists every segment of the community. At the Property Appraiser's Office, we just didn't deal with real estate. We dealt with every segment of the government. In terms, we supported Orange County government. We supported all the municipalities to include the city of Orlando. We supported the fire department, the police department, transportation. So every segment of the community was benefiting from the website that we created at the Property Appraiser's Office. Even my landscaper, he was essentially laying out a irrigation system, and he utilized the mapping system, the aerial imagery, to lay out the heads of his sprinkler system. So even the landscaper was benefiting from that site. I hope to bring the same level of accuracy, the same level of usefulness, the same level of transparency to the office of Clerk of Court.
That is amazing. Listen, your experience is actually, contributing, because now you could actually step in and you have the experience, in the past, to be able to turn it into something useful for the Clerk of Court. And me, I've had plenty of experiences, unfortunately, with the Clerk of Court, good, and some that people might not think is, good, but they're not bad, concerning my child and everything. The Clerk of Court has to do with precisely everything that, financial and even beyond that, like you said, when it comes to data and everything. So that is a very important office.
And you raise a very important point, because accuracy is so important. If you were to get a speeding ticket and that speeding ticket was not filed properly because of policy and procedure or because of lack of training, then that ticket goes into a file and you get pulled over a few days later and you're sure not to have paid that ticket. You and I, both of us know where you're going. Yes. So again, it affects your life. It's meticulous information, and it must be handled properly. It must be handled also when dealing with people. Dignity and respect, irrespective of what you're there for, is so important. We're not judges. We're not the law. We are there really to administrate the function. And people need to be treated with care, skill, diligence, and of course, with dignity.
As a resident, listen, perfect answer. That's exactly what we want to listen to, because, we're the ones that are important in this position. You're a public servant for us.
Absolutely.
And you obviously are showing us that you're able to serve us. And, from my end, respectfully, I love the answer.
Yeah, you also touched on something very important. At the Property Appraiser's Office, and let me stop and say this for a minute. Most candidates that you interview would tell you what they will do or what they hope to do or what they aspire to do. I will revert back to what I've done, and that's more importantly, because a prediction of the future is, of course, an indication of the past. So that's very important. So let me touch on customer service for a moment. At the Property Appraiser's Office, we won what was called the International Stevie Award. This is the gold standard in customer service. And what that means is essentially transforming an entire staff into a culture of service. I had everyone on my staff, from the highest position to the lowest position, memorize verbatim a quote by Gandhi. And it says the customer is the most important visitor to our premises. He's not here because of us. We're here because of him. He's not an interruption in our work. He is the purpose for it. So I urge you to Google that. It's fantastic for customer service. And what that did was transformed the entire culture of the office to serving the public and to winning a Stevie Award. So customer service is, of course, one of the top priorities that I will enhance at the Clerk of Court's office.
You worded my thoughts perfectly. You have advocated for modern, digital-first government services. What technological improvements would you prioritize to make the clerk office more efficient and user-friendly?
So let me tell you a little bit again about what I've done at the Property Appraiser's office and what I hope to do at the Clerk of Court's office. One of the things we were credited with at the Property Appraiser's office was delivering information to the public, as I said before. But what we also had was one of the best websites in the world. And how did we do that? We did that by leveraging GIS technology and aerial imagery. And we were able to support many, many, many segments of the community, as I stated before. This website had 3 million visitors, 1 to 2 searches per second, amazing analytics, and it served the real estate community. It served every taxpayer of Orange County. I hope to enhance the website of the Clerk of Court, and of course, implement GIS technology and artificial intelligence to better serve the public. One of the things, just a simple basic thing, is a jury summons. You know, your Clerk of Court handles jury summons. I plan to do this in an electronic environment where you don't get a piece of paper in the mails. Mails can get lost, things can happen, your dog can eat it, whatever. I hope to do this electronically, sending you an email, giving you a secure portal where you can go to and respond to your jury summons. Connecting the 9th district. Right now, I believe the Orange County and Osceola County are disconnected electronically from the computer systems. I hope to bridge that gap and create a system where it's conducive to the entire 9th district. So there are many things that I hope to accomplish in the area of technology. I want to tell you also that we've won a digital award at the Orange County Property Appraiser's office. This is an international award, digital media award. This was an international award in the area of technology, and so I actually studied artificial intelligence at MIT. So I took the time as an elected official to go to MIT and understand artificial intelligence, because this is, of course, my staff was going to be dealing with it, so I wanted to be on the forefront of it.
My father was a mechanical engineer, and he wanted me to go to MIT so bad. You already spoke on this, but one of my questions was, customer service is a major part of your platform. How would you improve the experience for residents who interact with the clerk's office, whether in person or online? But you've already explained it and, inputted your experience as well. You often reference your experience as Orange County Property Appraiser also. Right. What accomplishments from that role best demonstrate your readiness to serve in this position in the office of Clerk of Court?
So efficiency is very important in this office of Clerk of Court. And at the Property Appraiser's office, we ran and, of course, administer the most technical and the most difficult tax roll in the entire world. No other jurisdiction has major theme parks, 84,000 hotel rooms, timeshare, a tremendous amount of growth. Remember, I took the tax roll from $112 billion to $230 billion when I left office. So again, this is tremendous growth, and managing that growth as your property appraiser is so important. So to answer your question, we've done a lot of changes, we've done a lot of improvements, and I hope to bring that to the office of the Clerk of Court.
Fiscal responsibility is another key part of your campaign. How would you ensure taxpayer dollars are spent efficiently while maintaining high quality public services?
So as a constitutional officer, you're given a budget, and that budget, you have to work within the confines of that budget. Not only was I able to work within the confines of my budget, but I gave back $1 million to Orange County government, which provided the money for me to run the office. Give back $1 million every single year that I was in office. In addition to that, as a constitutional officer, we get audited by the comptroller every year. zero findings. And of course, one of the comments was the property appraiser expenditure of public funds is best practice for public funds. So I'm very, very conscious of fiscal responsibility, putting $1 billion back on the tax roll from efficiently administering homestead exemption fraud, and just doing some fantastic things at the office of the property appraiser.
Hey, the clerk's office is responsible for safeguarding important legal and public records. What measures would you implement to strengthen cybersecurity and protect sensitive information of all that data?
So my military training brought a tremendous sense of reality to classification. As I told you before, I worked on very sensitive national security issues and had to receive the topmost clearance in security, classified, top secret, and secret clearances. I had no problem receiving that. And that enabled me to appreciate and to understand the sensitiveness of information. Let me also go this further to say, as a constitutional officer, I would win the election and then have to take an oath of office, raising my hand and swearing to the Constitution that I would uphold the integrity of this office. But before I do that, I would have to be bonded. And that's very important. Every constitutional officer have to be bonded. No bonding institution in America will bond you if you have a felony, right? So again, I want to revert and say I am one of the only candidates running in this race that can be bonded. In addition to that, as the clerk of court, I will also access and have access to FBI information, to FDLE information, sensitive criminal information, sensitive civil information. The DAVE system is one of those. And again, you have to qualify to receive credentials to utilize this office. And I say, again, not all candidates in this race can qualify for that. I can qualify for that. So that is wanting to say that I am ready on day one.
Your campaign highlights ethical leadership and, like you just mentioned, merit-based hiring. How would you build a culture of professionalism, accountability, and public trust within the clerk's office?
So the MAI is the gold standard in appraisal, and I was able to attract almost 9 MAIs into this office. These are individuals that can work and make a tremendous, almost double their salary as to what they were being paid in public sector. Of course, they can do that in the private sector. And I was able to attract these professionals and bring them under the auspices of the Office of Property Appraiser. I did that by developing a culture, by showing respect for them, by of course giving them the opportunity for education and creating an environment where they worked and produced the finest. We were able to defend the tax roll in Orange County when challenged almost 100% of the time at the Value Adjustment Board, because we were able to have just profoundly qualified individual. I interviewed everyone myself, from the lowest to the highest position at the Office of Property Appraiser. And if someone did not meet the test, we did not hire them. So again, we had a standard, we interviewed, and we hoped that they would meet that standard. And if they were close to meeting the standard and they were trainable, then we hired them and trained them.
If elected, what would success look like after your first term? And what improvements would you hope Orange County residents notice most about your time at the clerk's office?
So when elected, I'm going to tell you this.
Oh, yes.
You know, when I ran as the property appraiser back in 2012, most people asked the question, what does the property appraiser do, right? And when I left office, most people were telling each other what the property appraiser did. That wasn't a happening of chance. That was a result of almost 1,000 outreach events. That was a result of interacting on a regular basis with the public. That was a result of letting the public know who the property appraiser is, and of course being in the community and interacting with every segment of our community. That was the result of doing one of the largest event in Orange County history, called the State of Orange County Real Estate. Almost 1,500 people showed up and listened to the property appraiser, and of course a panel of qualified people. So again, I say that to say that we plan to administer an office that is for the people, of the people, and of course, listen to the people and find out what they need. There's no need right now for people in their busy lives to have to come to an office and wait and sit down half an hour. I tell you this very proudly. If you call the property appraiser's office under my administration, the longest you would be on hold is 2 minutes and 39 seconds. And if you visited the office, the longest before someone warmly greeted you was 29 seconds. I know this because I measured it. I utilized GIS technology and I measured it, and I held my employees accountable after properly trained. So these are things that's very, very important to me. Customer service is extremely important. Again, technology is very important. And of course, policy and procedures are very important in addition to the administration of the public sector work.
Well, like you said best, when elected, we will be following you every step of the way. Until then, we're going to be following you in that campaign, right? You're going to be at the Pine Hills Hob Nob.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Look forward to it.
It's a pleasure to have you again here at Cap Village Studios. Have a great day.
It's my pleasure to be here.